I didn't do the Musa. I'm doing Musa for a minute after all this.
Yaakov,
there's not enough Musa that can get off my cursing. So you know what I mean.
Yaakov,
it's not a long daf. Yeah.
Where it says Mishlei, Kizer HaMeshabeach. It's in mine. It's 3 lines into the Hasheni. 3-4 lines into the Hasheni.
I see a lot of Mishleis, but I don't. Kizeh Mishabech is the pasuk. What's the pasuk of Mishlei?
Yeah, no, the pasuk is he's very sorry. Halu Russia.
Oh, there. Okay, what over there? Okay, thank you. Ba'av Hasheni. What's a Mishabech Rosh b'fnei b'nei Adam? If you Mishabech a Russia in front of people, b'fanav Hashem. We see we're not. In this daf, we're not being Meshabeach any Rishoyim. We're going right at him. Even Tzadikim we're going after. But okay, even though you don't praise him on his bad things, those that forgo Torah will praise a Rasha. Because this guy's very shabeach him, if it wouldn't be that he left the Torah, he would never be. Meaning, if you wouldn't be a guy who's giving up on the Torah, you would never go be meshabeach a Russia, right? Gam lo yamlitz al Russia b'fnei bnei Adam loimer. You're not going to go in front of a bnei Russia and say, "Halai hu oisa toiva zayis." He did this good thing. L'chein tachmul olav, right? And have rachmanos. Misha Isagam zeu ram ma'oid ki Hashem surim shu tzadik v'yitnu lo covered. Right, meaning he's saying you cannot, if a guy is a Russia, you cannot be meshabeach him, even if he does some good. Right, but which I don't know, because we have times in Gemara and the Shas where we were meshabeach. Wasn't what's his name? He took 3 steps. Who was it? We had it.
Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah. Nebuchadnezzar, right? Nebuchadnezzar, and the Gemara is meshabeach him for that. Esau, right? Then others, when they hear them being praised, they're going to have kinna. Right?
Mashma that he's talking about a yid, not a guy.
You said you want to differentiate between a yid and a guy.
Yeah, I mean, no one's going to say that I want to be like Nebuchadnezzar because he did something good.
Well, but could be they want to be like a Nebuchadnezzar because he has money.
There's enough Yidden. I mean, we have Lakewood, Baruch Hashem.
Yeah, no, I hear that. Okay, whatever. We'll stop over there. Okay, so now we're running late. It's not a long daf, so we always have daf Lamed Gimel to catch up. We fall behind. That's fine. So so today's daf we're gonna finish up with the machlokes. Again, we had a machlokes. At what age can a father is allowed to make his kid into a nazir? To what age? So we had a machlokes whether the kid, it's up to the age of 12 or the age of 13. Because at the age of 12, the kid already understands enough to make a neder. So that's what some say. One shita is up to 12. That's Rebbi, who was it? Rebbi Yehuda. And Rebbi holds it's until he has shtei cyrus, which is another word for bar mitzvah. Right, so we ask a kasha on that from an interesting story with Reb Chanina, and then we end up saying that according to Rebbe, okay, we're gonna how exactly he has to be, how he's going to be makabel both nizirus for him and his father. And the next Mishnah is the Mishnah about that a son can yarshin his father's behemoths for nazir, and he could be makriv them. And there's going to be a machlokes if he has to be that he became a nazir after his father was nifter, or even if he was a nazir when he was nifter. That's on the base. And then the Gemara is going to ask all sorts of questions if whether yarshining, meaning because it's a Yerusha. So let's say 2 brothers, right? Let's say 2 brothers decide to fight over their father's korbanos, right? I mean, Yerusha, where there's a will, there's a relative. So Yerusha, there's always fights. So what is it, a Yerusha? Or does whoever comes and gets it first gets it? Meaning, do we say that there's a Yerusha of the animals? Or do we say that has nothing to do with Yerusha and that it's just kachim? Okay, so we're on Chaf Tesamad Beis, Lema Hani Tanoi. It's about 15 lines up from the bottom. Yeah, so Lema Hani Tanoi Ki Hani Tanoi. Let's say that these Tanoim, meaning Rebbe and Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, has the same thing as the next Tanoim. The Tanya Maisa, Rabbi Chanina. There was a story of Rabbi Chanina. Shehidiru Ava ben Nazir, that his father made him into a Nazir. They brought him in front of Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel checked him out, laid him, maybe Shtei Cyrus and Lay Heavy. He checked him out to know that whether he has Shtei Cyrus or not. Rabbi Yossi Omer Leida im Higia Loinus Nedarim Lav. It wasn't, he didn't check him out, he didn't give him a physical. According to the first opinion, he gave him a physical to see if he has Shtei Cyrus. According to Rabbi Yossi, he didn't give him a physical, he gave him a mental. I don't know if that's a word, right? He gave him a mental. Oh, by the way, before we start,
a checkup from the neck up.
Right, yeah. So before we start, I forgot the name Rabanan, from the guy that was hit by the car in Eretz Yisrael, the Palais, Avram
Noach Chaim ben Yehudis.
Avram Noach Chaim ben Yehudis is having major surgery tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so the Olam should have that in mind. And his wife is due soon, so they're really hoping that the surgery works so that he can get out or have some semblance of epis. Yeah, so okay, so we should have a refu shalem. Yeah, so anyway, so Rebbe says he gave him a mental checkup. What was the mental checkup? To see if he's mentally competent to make a nether. If he's mentally competent to make a nether, that means he's a gadol for nedarim, and therefore his father can make him have nedarim. Right? Again, the machlokes Rebbe held that the father can make nedarim for the kid until he's a bar mitzvah, until he has shtei saris. And Rabbi Yehuda held no, until he is in the age of making nedarim, which is usually about a year before. But he had to take a faher, he had to take a test from Rabbi Gamliel to see if he had the mental capacity to understand what a neder is to the Rabbanan Shalom. So that's the machlokes. So the Gemara is saying that l'chayr, that machlokes is the machlokes. It's the same machlokes, right? Whether a kid or whether the father can make a son's nedarim until 12 or to 13. Yeah. Fine. So Amaloi. So he said, Reb Chanina said to Rabbi Gamliel, Rebbe, right? Al titstar lebatkani. Don't make yourself bitzar to check me out. Im kotanani, if I'm a kotan, b'shvil abba, I'm going to make myself a neder for my father. Meaning not for my father. Meaning I'm going to be a nazir because my father made me one. In gadol ani, and if I'm taka an adult. I'm going to make myself a voluntary nazir, right? So he said to Reb Chanina said to Rabbi Gamliel a real smart comment. He said, "Mamanav Shah, I'll either be whichever age I am. If I'm a katan, my father made me a nazir, and if I'm a gadol, I'm going to do it myself." So Mamanav Shah, the Reb Chanina, the kid, he was 12 years old.
He's
whatever.
He's Reb Chanina at the point already 12.
No, the story was saying about him.
Okay.
Right. So that's what he told Rabbi Gamliel. So I'm Rabbi Gamliel.
Said that you're smart enough.
So I'm Rabbi Gamliel, but Nashko al Raisha, he kissed him on his head. Amar Mufta Chani Bazeh, Shemayra Halacha be Yisrael. He's going to be Mayra Halacha in Klal Yisrael. Amru Loihayu Yamim Muatim. It wasn't too many days at Shahira Rabbi Yisrael until he was a Rabbi Yisrael, which is interesting because too many days. Is that dafka?
No, it's not such a big deal.
The
stories they say about the guy and about the Tanya, they
right. And
when
then
they were
saying,
5 years old, and 7 years old, they were saying all these wild stuff. So you're talking about
that's true. It's true, but
Didn't the Chef Schmeitzer write everything when he was 17? This is much later, right?
What?
Didn't the Chef Schmeitzer write that when he was 17?
The Chef Shmi, yeah, but it doesn't.
Much later.
I'm saying it could be.
It is an interesting lashon. Hayu Yamim Muatim means there weren't a few days. It means it was a long time. Literally. If it would have said Lo Hayu Yamim Rabim, there weren't many days until he was Meira Halach. That means it's a short time.
Okay, I don't know. Again, it could be Yomim also means Yomim could be Yomim
Yomim
Mishanim. I don't
Mishanim.
know. Yeah, Yomim
Yeah.
Mishanim. Okay, whatever it is. So Rav Gamliel was quite impressed with him. Right? So anyways, so Bishlam, now, okay, so now the Gemara asks a kasha. Bishlam Rav Yaisi. Oh, there was another thing we should have pointed out. When the Gemara started with Lema Hani Tanoi, Lema is usually a question. Let's say this Machloikis is like this Machloikis, and then we end up saying that it's not. Here the Gemara, in the Nazir fashion, doesn't mean that. It's saying that this is what it is and finished. The Gemara doesn't disprove it. That's what Taisa says and the Rush says it. Fine. So Bishlam Rav Yaisi, Rav Yehuda, the Amar Hachi Gilainus Nadarim. So this whole story makes sense according to Rav Yehuda, who says that he can start making nedarim at age 12, so therefore his father can't make a nazir on his behalf. If I'm a katan, then I'm going to be a nazir because of my father. But according to Rebbi, who says that it's until he grows 2 hairs, which is essentially bar mitzvah. And if I'm a gadol, I'm going to be on my own. I'm making myself a nazir on Tamid Aleph now. But he's still in his father's rishus. How can he make himself a nazir if he didn't yet have shtei saris? It's very hard to understand this question, at least for me, right? Because the Gemara's teretz, because that's the kasha. The Gemara's kasha is basically saying, how is he making himself a gadol if he doesn't have shtei saris? So that the Gemara answers, Elo da'amar ahei, I think that's the way you pronounce it, ahei b'shvil abba. If I don't have shtei saris, I'm going to be a nazir from my father. Ahei b'shvil atzmi, and if I do, then I'm going to be for myself. Meaning he's talking about shtei saris, not the age of nedarim, right? So the Rush says that this whole shakal v'tarya, well, the Gemara knew the answer. It's like a rhetorical conversation because the answer's pashut that Rabbi Yehuda is talking about for the age of 12, and Rebbe is going to say that the Gemara is talking about where with shtei saris. Okay, so the Gemara has an interesting question.
What happens if a boy has shtei saris before bar mitzvah? When he's 12, when he has shtei,
he's not bar mitzvah. He's not bar mitzvah. But
doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
Okay.
As far as I know, it doesn't. As far as I know, it doesn't count. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say that too. The only source in Shas, I think, going back to the previous Amud of a bar mitzvah being a 13, where does it come from that a bar mitzvah is at 13? Contrary to all the parties that we go to, it doesn't
probably
say
from Yishmael. I would with the track record, I'd say it's from Yishmael.
it's not a bad but right. So the Rashi right here, the Mefarish, before he says that ish, anytime it says the word ish, it's Yud Gimel Shana. It's in the Rashi of Yosef Yehuda, the last thin lines in the Rashi in the previous stuff. He says, Ish havim ben Yud Gimel Shana, v'loy b'pachas. Shaloi matzinu b'chol ha'Torah, sheyehekari ish b'pachas mi ben Yud Gimel.
That's Rashi saying this? The Mefarish?
Yes. The Mefarish, yeah.
So how does the Mefarish know this, that ish means 13?
How does he know?
He explains it.
Says.
You keep going.
He keeps going. Well, Ben Gimel Matzino Shakaru Hakas of Ish. Yikhu Shnei Bnei Yaakov Shimon V'Levi Ish Charboy Ugamiri Shimon V'Levi. He shot the Bnei Yud Gimel Shana Hava V'Roitz Lachshav Yetzev Yachshav. That's where he stops. He says, if you want to calculate it, go out and calculate it. Meaning, then if you go look in the Masaras Hashas, says go look in the Taisus Yom Tif and Pirkei Avos Perek Hey, and there it also clarifies. And then somebody crunches the numbers that it has to be the Shimon and Levi when they went after Shem.
I thought they said they were boys. They were 9 and 11.
I don't know. I'm not starting up with the Chumash people. Harav Nachman, I don't know. What do you say? I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, they called them. That's why they called them Ish Charboy. That's when they did it. When they killed out Shem, so they were called Ish Charboy. That was the 13. With me? They do the numbers. They do the calculation.
Okay, I hear. Okay, so then it's I don't know. So he's saying here it's clearly 13. But all right, whatever it is. So that seems to be one of the sources in Shas for bar mitzvah being 13. Okay. What about bas mitzvah 12? I don't know. That I don't know. Anybody have a source for that? All right. Fine. Okay, so let's see weiter. So EIC, so Gemara asks, second line down now, EIC shtei cyrus mei kara. So Gemara has an interesting kasha here. If he had shtei cyrus from the beginning, when his father made him into a nazir, korban nizirus delay, he is keeping his own nizirus, right? Because he said, if I'm 13, then, or if I have shtei cyrus, so I'm doing my own nizirus. And if I don't, right? So then if I don't, then it's my father's nizirus. So if he had shtei cyrus from the beginning, so he's keeping his own nizirus. So the and if he didn't get the 2 cyrus till the end of his nazir, korban nizirus ta'avua. So then he's in the nazir of the father. B'ic b'metza, my. So what would be if he grew the 2 hairs? That's a 30-day. He's a 30-day. What's it called? The nazir, right? If he grew the 2 hairs in the beginning of his 30 days, so then he's doing the nizirus for himself. If he grew the 2 hairs at the end of the 30 days, then he's doing the nizirus for his father. What happens if he grew the 2 cyrus grew on day 15? So it's good according to Rabbi Yehuda, who says that it's only until he got to the age of nedarim. So then we don't care. The shtei cyrus has nothing to do with anything. It's about whether he got to the age of whether he could understand what a neder is. Nothing to do with shtei cyrus. But according to Rebbi, who says
the Torah Tamima over there says the same thing as the Mefarish, and he brings our Gemara the Torah Tamima.
Oh yeah, okay, very good, very good. Very good. Okay, so Ella the Rebbi Damar Achayavi Shtei Cyrus, but according to Rebbi, who says Shtei Cyrus, Ma'ikal, what are you going to say, right? Meaning, what's going to happen? So how can you say if he got the Shtei Cyrus in the middle of his nazir 30 days? So then it could very well be that if he wasn't supposed to bring that korban, right, then he's bringing kodshim. He's going to be shaving his head for no reason. He's going to be bringing what do you call it, chulin into the azara, right? So how can you what are you going to do about that? Right? He doesn't have the full nizirus if he had his shtei cyrus in the middle, right? So again, it's not a kasher Rabbi Yehuda because he doesn't care about the shtei cyrus, right? And even if he does get shtei cyrus, right, but he said it's not such a chashash. But according to Rebbe, it's an issue. So Amri the Rebbe lekatakanta. So taka, right? There's no takana for Rebbe. Ad Yosef delay be Yosef davui. He has to say. So now he's going to have to keep 60 days. He's going to have to keep 30 days for his and 30 days for his father's, right? Yeah. So, and then Lachari is bringing 1 set of korbanos, right? I think he can't bring the first set because it's a suffix, right? So he's gonna have to bring 2. He's gonna have to keep a nazir and then bring one set. Okay, fine. Talk the Mishna weiter. Ha'ish megaleach al nizirus aviv. So we had this a few times already. The father could take a haircut. A man could take a haircut on the nizirus of his father. So we said that doesn't. We call it haircut, but what it means is he's taking his father's korbanos. Meaning his father died, and now he's a nazir. He wants to use his father's korbanos. So we're saying he's allowed to do it. But if a woman is a nazira, she cannot take her father's korbanos. Ketzad. So how does this work? So Misha Yav Nazir, if the father was a nazir, stumin al nizirus ayames, and he was mafresh money for his korbanos, and then he died. And he said, Hareini. So so the Rush takes this out and moves it to later because it's hard to understand it the way you said it. But let's go with what it says. Right? And he said, I'm becoming it. Mamish doesn't fit here, according. Okay, he's saying I'm going to become a nazir on the condition that I could use the money from my father's korbanos to pay for my nazir. right? So Amar Rabbi Yosi said, "Areelu yiplu in adava." They go to an adava. Ein ze megaleach al nizirus aviv. That's not. He cannot take a haircut. That's not called taking a haircut. Meaning that that's not the scenario where he's allowed to use the korbanos that belong to his father, right? Why? So let's see. So then, which one is? Which ones do apply? When can he use his father's korbanos? So Misha Yehuva Aviv Nezirim. So then now you have to change that too, because it's somebody who was him and his father. You have to take out him, because he's saying now that it only works if he becomes a Nazir after his father dies. So you have to say Misha Haya. Because then you have to change Haya. Misha Haya Aviv Nazir. If his father was a Nazir, and his father separated money for his nizirus and then he died, that's when he's allowed to use his father's korbanos. So basically, the Mishnah only says one shita, which we're going to see on Amud Beis, that there are those that disagree. But the Mishnah is going to saying that when can a son use his father's korbanos? That's if he became a Nazir after his father died. But if he becomes a Nazir while his father's alive, then he can't. Right? That's basically what the Mishnah says. Okay, so this Amud is missing a lot of. There's a lot missing. It's because from this Gemara also my time. This Gemara says why, right? So Amar Rabbi Yochanan, meaning why is the son allowed to use the father's korbanos and the daughter not? So Amar Rabbi Yochanan, halacha ben Nazir, like we've been saying, all these halachas. It's just halacha lMoshe misinai. It's halacha lMoshe misinai that the son, the Nazir son can use, and the Nazir daughter cannot use. So Gemara says pshita, right? It's pashit. Now, what does that mean, pshita? You can't ask my timer and then say pshita, right? So we have to change that. It's that the pshita is not. It's a new Gemara, right? That what meaning? Why should? Why? How does he say it? The Rosh. Where is it? What is it?
In the Mephiresh, the Ben V'lei the
Yeah.
Bas.
I'm looking, the Toises. The bottom Toises, huh? No?
Yeah, the same thing. The Ben, only the Ben could be.
All right, now we're going on Eina Isha Megalech as nizirus Aviv, right? The first Gemara was going on, the Gemara is asking why only a son and what? Why only the son, not the daughter, right? That was the Gemara's first. Now, is the Gemara is asking that the wife can't use the korban. No, that's the same thing. So what's the first Gemara talking about? I don't know why I'm having a.
No, the first one is how it works. How is the Ben
Correct.
Yairish?
Right now.
The second one is why not the daughter?
Correct. Yes, thank you. Meaning the first pshat is saying, where do you get it that you could use, right? This was going back, we had 3 blot ago. The 3 blot ago, we said you cannot, I should explain this before that. The halacha is that for every other korban, a son cannot use his father's korbanos. Let's say a son does a korban chatas. A father's chayav a korban chatas. And then he dies before he brings it. And then the son's over on the same korban chatas. Can the son use the korban? The son is not allowed to use the korban. But by Nazir, he is allowed to use the korban. Why? Like everything else with Nazir, it's halacha lMoshe misinai. Fine. Then the Gemara is asking, even though the Gemara doesn't say it, the Gemara is asking, well, why is it that the son, well, the Gemara is actually not asking. The Gemara is saying it's pashut that the son yarshins the father. The girls don't yarshin, right? Contrary to what goes on in the Welt. But in halacha, the boys yarshin, the girls don't yarshin. Finished. Right? So why should the girl get to keep her father's korbanos? The son gets to keep the father's korbanos. Right? So let's see. So pshita. So what's the mile? Remember the ben yarish aviv bas loy, right? That the son yarshins the father and the daughter doesn't. So Gemara says the pasha answer like the less loy ela bas. He only has a daughter. So if he only has a daughter, she yarshins him. So now can she use his korbanos? So you would think that she yarshins him totally, and she could use his animals. Halacha lMoshe misinai. Halacha lMoshe misinai tells you no, she cannot. Only a son could use the father's korbanos.
Is this from Sukkim? Like, why? Maybe I would say so. The Bezdin Yar. If there's no sons, the Bezdin Yashins the father. The daughter doesn't Yashin. She doesn't Yashin. No.
What do you mean?
Who said just because there's son she doesn't Yashin? Maybe she just doesn't Yashin her father.
What do you mean? She does yashin her father.
Maybe she doesn't. Why does she?
Bechlal, you're saying? Bechlal?
Yeah, why does she? Just because there's no sons, why should she? If she doesn't yashin when there's a brother, so why should she yashin when there's no brother?
Oh, that's okay. Like tzlaf, well, from tzlaf, well, it takets, what's that? Without tzlaf, no, tzlaf.
Without tzlaf, it would go up. It would go to the father.
It would go to the father's brother.
Right, no, so right, but now this is post tzlaf.
Okay.
That was the chiddush of tzlaf daughters. They are Yerush.
But it's not passul that she and Moshe Rabbeinu had an issue.
Yeah, but it is midaraisa now. It is. They are Yerush when there's no son.
Yeah, correct. But that's post.
The chiddush. Usually it's Yared va'ayla. Sorry, Yared va'ayla, Yared va'ayla. But here, if it was Yared to the son, there's no son. It goes across. It never usually goes across. It usually goes straight up again. Yerusha.
I hear. Right. So okay, but okay. Either way, but bottom line is she certainly doesn't yashin his animals, right? Now, by the way, Stam, how do you get it halachically to get women to yashin nowadays? So that's in Shulchan Aruch already. That you make there's a few ways to do it, but you can make a will where she has the rights of a male, or you make it that right before he's nifter, it all the kinyanim go. So some have these chumrah, some have a chumrah though. Let's say a guy has $1 million he's giving over to his kids. So they say, okay, give 999,000, do whatever way you want, whatever the shticks. I don't know if shtick is the right word. And then 1,000, do with the proper Yerusha, so you can be mekayim the mitzvah derais of the proper way of doing a Yerusha. Right? Like give 1,000 to the boys and not to the girls, and like this, you mekayim the Yerusha. Okay, whatever, there's different ways of doing it. Okay. So Yibaylu, they asked the Shaila. Pligi Rabanan again, Rabbi Yossi, before we go back to let's explain it. Rabbi Yossi says in the Mishna that the only time the son can use the father's animals is if the son became a nazir after the father already died. Right? But it says Rabbi Yossi, so it's mashma that there's other opinions out there. That's not a stam Mishnah, right? It's mashma that there's other opinions. So the Gemara is asking two questions. Do they disagree with him? Right? Or do they not? Or do they agree or disagree with Rabbi Yossi? Meaning, and then the father, even if the father and son are both nezirim, the son can use it. And if you say that they do argue, a reisha a seifa. Is it going on the reisha or the seifa? Right? Meaning, he would say, do they disagree with him? Meaning maybe they disagree with him totally, and they say the son cannot use the father's money at all, right? And if they do agree with him, maybe they disagree by whether maybe he could do it when he's even when they're alive, he can do it, right? Meaning one thing is do they disagree, and they disagree with this whole concept of a son using his father's animals, which means that they're arguing on Halacha lMoshe misinai, right? No, comes out that yeah. Why not?
The Halacha lMoshe misinai is just that the son can use the father's korban.
Right. So
either way, Bein Rabanan, Bein Rabbi Yossi, the son's using the father's korban.
No, I don't think so. They're arguing. Rabbi Yossi in the whole concept. And therefore, the son can't use the korbanos, period, end. Right?
Well, I think
that's one.
Isn't the second kasha built in?
No, the second kasha on top of that is, and if they disagree, am I saying it backwards?
Is it? Yeah. Is if they argue, is it a complete disagreement, and they argue on the whole halacha?
Correct. So right. So if they disagree completely, then they're arguing on the halacha misinai.
Although you could argue that whether it's a reisha or whether it's a seifa is the reisha. What do they hold in the reisha? If they hold that it works and Rabbi Yossi holds it doesn't work, that means they would agree to Rabbi Yossi on the seifa, but they hold that both cases work. So they're not disagreeing on the halacha misinai. They're just adding another case to the halacha misinai. Or do they agree with the reisha and only argue on the seifa? That would mean that they disagree on the halacha misinai. It means there's no case according to the Rabanan in which it works.
Right, but okay, but at the end of the day, though, it's the same. Basically, again, the Gemara's kasha is: do they just disagree? Meaning, do they disagree and say that it can be when they're both nazirim and they're both alive and they're both nazirs? Can it be like that, or do they just disagree on the whole thing and they say no, the son can never yarshin the father? Those are the two questions, right? So Tashema. So Gemara says, Keitzad Amru Ish Megaleach al nizirus Aviv. How can you have a case with a son taking his father's korbanos? Misha Aviv Nazir, the father was a Nazir Ifrish Aviv Mais the nizirusa. And the father separated money for his nizirus who makes, and he died. And he said, Areini Nazir al Menashe Galech al Mois Abba. And he says, okay, I'm going to carry on my father's legacy and I'm going to become a Nazir as long as I could use his animals or his money for that he put away for the animals. Zeu Shemegalech al Mois Aviv. That's called being megalech al avis of it, al mois of it, because he became a nazir after his father died. But if him and his father were nazirim, v'hifrish aviv mois lenazirusa, meaning they were both nazirim at the same time, and the father separated money, and then he died. Then it goes to the nadava. Right? That's mamash our Mishna, right? That if he became a nazir at the same time as his father, he cannot use his father's money, and it goes to the double. But Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Amru Zeu Shemagalech Hamayis Aviv. They say, no, that's called being Megalech Hamayis Aviv, meaning even if they were both alive at the same time, then he could still use the money, the money his father set apart for the korbanos. So clearly, you see that they disagree. They disagree with Rabbi Yossi, and they disagree. And they disagree when it's, meaning the disagreement is when he becomes a nazir. Does he have to become a nazir after his father died or not? Right. So that's the Gemara, which is interesting because in the Gemara we learned 3 blot ago is going shaloi halacha because we paskin like the Rabanan. Right. I don't understand how we understand the Gemara from 3 blot ago, which seemed to be only talking about where the son yarshins the animals only if he becomes a nazir after his father died. I thought that was the pashut understanding of the Gemara.
Yeah, but the Gemara there would work either way. It would work according to the Rabanan also. It's just a kasha from mum. If the korban was alive, then it has a mum. The answer was it wasn't alive. It was just money. It's tumah.
Yeah.
So the Gemara would work even according to the Rabanan.
I mean, because here we're saying stumen. There was
right.
I hear. Okay, very
good. It is interesting. The answer of the Gemara is that it was not an option in the kasha of the Gemara. The kasha of the Gemara was if they argue, do they argue on the ratio or the sefer? In the answer, the argument is on both. They argue on the ratio and the sefer.
Right. I mean, well, they're not really wide. It's really only. I mean, the first question was just do they argue? So, okay, so obviously
right, arguing. Whether they argue or not. But the second kasha was if they argue, do they argue on the reisha or on the sefer? There really should have been a third option, or on both.
Yeah. I hear.
We'll add another parak at the end, Gershon.
He's waiting for his l'chaim.
Okay, let's see. Now the Gemara has a series of kashas. And then ends with a teku instead of what was the other one? Tibai, right? So Bai Rava. Again, now we're talking Yerusha here. So again, the son yarshins the father's korbanos. Yes, let's say he has two sons. Imamish did great chinuch from yesterday's daf. He doesn't have one son who's a nazir. He's got two sons that are nezirim. Givaldik, right? So yesh shnei banim nezirim. If he has two sons that are nezirim, so what's the din?
They were twins, and one was born Ad Rishon and one was born Ad Sheni before.
You're really making a lumbus there. Yeah. So hilchos gemir in law, do we say that it's halacha lMoshe misinai, which means halacha lMoshe is not touchable, right? So therefore, kol dekadim, galach v'galach, whichever one is makabel on himself to be a nazir first gets it. Idilma Yerusha gemir in law, we learn out from Yerusha. Upalga hi habi, and it's half and half. I mean, you could just see a fight brewing with this one. You got two boys who are nazirim, right? Each one wants at least to get half. One guy becomes a nazir. First, he takes both animals, takes all the money. His brother tells him, hey, I don't want my brother to have all that money, so I'm going to become a nazir. Now I want half. The other brother says, too bad, right? So the first brother took all the money, said it has nothing to do with Yerusha. It's halacha lMoshe misinai. This is not Yerusha. And the other brother says, no, it's Yerusha. The same way we'd split it. If it was a Yerusha, we split it even though it's Nazir money, right? So that's kasha number one. Shaila number one. Next shaila.
Like the camp thing this morning.
The camp thing.
Big camp this morning.
I guess, yeah. Right. So now, boy Rava, the next shaila, Bechar upashit. Let's say one was a Bechar and one was a pashit. Right? He was a pashit, the guy, and one was a Bechar. So the Bechar gets double. So hilchas a gemir in law. Do we say it's halacha lMoshe misinai? Hilchach loy bay gelucha lefumay deshakil. He doesn't get to shave his head. Again, he keeps using shave his head. It just means to use the korbanos according to what he's supposed to get. Meaning, even though he's supposed to get double, yeah, so he's gonna get half and half. Idilma Yerusha, it's a Yerusha. V'chi the shakel pishnayim. Same way he takes double for Yerusha, he's also going to take double from the animals. I mean, it's essentially the same question, right? Which is what has priority here? Standard Yerusha splitting, or do we say no? It's not a standard Yerusha. I mean, this second question is based on the assumption that the first question they use basic Yerusha. So now we're asking. On top of that, if they're using basic Yerusha, okay, what about the Pishnayim? Does Pishnayim take place here or not? Fine. Then the third shaila, and if you say that it's a Yerusha, and each one takes from, like they split it, right? So then, hu de islay Pishnayim avehektishloi. So chulin, only by chulin does the Bechor get Pishnayim, but hektish not. Idilma, meaning, and by the way, that's a Bechor only gets Pishnayim. We had it once in Subas on cash. He only gets it on cash or readily available money, buildings, real estate, stocks, all that stuff. The Bechor does not get Pishnayim. You hear, parrots? Yeah. So no Pishnayim, only on cash. That's it, or whatever, ready available funds. So is that saying sort of the same thing here too? It's only on chulin that there's pishnayim. Hektish, there's no pishnayim. Idilma, that's one side. Idilma kima dekani le'leglayav loishna. Or do we say, since the reason why he's yarshining is so that he could take the animals, maybe because of his nizirus, right? And therefore, he should. It's a Yerusha, so it's no different than any other Yerusha. So he should be able to take double. Fine. That's the end of those shilas. Then two different shilas. Oven. Let's say so again. He's taking his father's animals. His father money. He put away money, and he's using his father's money because his father died. So what happens if he's a different nazir than his father? Right? Aviv nazir oilam. If his father became a nazir forever, which means that he could take a haircut every once in a while, but he has to bring korbanos. For who nazir stam, and he's a regular 30-dayer. Or Aviv nazir stam, the father was a 30-dayer, but he wanted to make his father proud. He became a nazir oilam. For who nazir oilam? What's the din? When do we say lMoshe misinai? Allows the son to use the korbanos? That's by stam nizirus. It doesn't make a difference. A nazir is a nazir is a nazir. Meaning maybe they have to have the same nizirus. Either they're both stam nizirus or they're both nazir oilams. But if one is different than the other, then it doesn't work.
Are the korbanos the same?
What?
Are the korbanos the same?
I think they're the same, yeah.
Why would a nazir oilam have korbanos?
A nazir oilam, when he wants to take a haircut, a nazir oilam is allowed to take a haircut when it's covered on him, when it's heavy on him. But he has to
then
bring
he only
korbanos
brings the
first.
chatas, no?
Yeah, I thought he brings all three.
Brings everything?
Again, we're only learning nazir, Ash, I know, but I'm just saying. I thought he brought all three. But you say, okay, even if it's a chatas, so let him yashin the chatas. No. So we know from Avshalom.
No. That would be an issue. The chatas is an issue, isn't it?
What? Just transfer it over.
Yeah.
No, but if Halacha lMoshe misinai tells you could do it, right? Just like the last chatas, it's Halacha lMoshe misinai.
Well,
I don't know. I
no,
thought it was all
but
three.
that's when it's stam. We have stumim here, right?
That was a different Halacha lMoshe misinai. This is a different Halacha lMoshe misinai. He could yashin his father, so a chatas is a chatas. What do you mean?
If I have to crack a new bottle open, Gershon, I'm going to kill you.
What, because you're finishing too much, Parrot? Savlon.
Yeah, I've been waiting. I can't. It's like dangling a candy.
Again, so the shaila is does the son's nizirus have to be the same as the father? The imtins are our last question. The imtins are loymar hacha.
Yaakov, if only you could say those words and we hold it against you, the Gershon, 100%.
Parrots, I'm
Parrots, you have
myself.
2 reasons to drink, Parrots. There's 2 reasons to drink. So, Yaakov, that's the old. Well, you're not a drinker, so you don't know. I mean, the mamza, the Muhammad, he knew Klal Yisrael couldn't do the whole thing in one day, but he only made it one day because if Klal Yisrael won, he didn't want them to have so many l'chaims. So we drink from Rosh Chodesh all the way straight through.
Okay.
That's all the drinkers.
All right. We're all talking egg like that.
Yeah. Well, the whole
so
year.
one is for the siyum and one is for.
Jack, we take very seriously.
Yes. Yeah.
I gotta just bought my kosher Pesach tequila tonight.
Oh,
very good, Parrots. That's so. But I hate to tell, if you open it together with your scotch, it's probably not. I'm not going to say anything. Okay, I'm not saying.
Are you allowed to buy your tequila before you buy your matzahs?
Oh.
Anyways, okay.
Jacob, how do you are? Because Tadir ain't Tadir.
Jacob, is it
No. Buying the tequila is part of it.
I dip my matzah in the tequila.
Yeah.
He needs to have finished the tequila before he sees the matzah bill.
That's
part of buying the matzahs.
Now you're talking. Anyways, okay. So again, the first shaila is, do they have to have the same nizirus? So now, what did I skip? Yeah. Right. Right. And they're both there. If you're going to say that they're both, as long as they're both nizirus for tahira, so then boy Ravashi, then Rashi had aviv nazir tamei, but who nazir tar. Meaning when the Gemara says they're both nizirus tahira, meaning they take the reason why they're bringing the korbanos is because they're done with the nizirus, and now they need to bring the regular standard tahar korbanos. But then Ravashi has a different shaila. Aviv nazir tamei. Maybe if the father separated money for korbanos because he became tumah, which has separate korbanos, but who nazir tar, and he is a nazir tar. Again, we're just talking about money here. We're not talking about the actual animal stuff. That answers your kasha, right? Aviv nazir tar, or the father was separating the money for a nazir tar, but who nazir tameh, and he's another tameh. So now those are 2 separate cheshbainis, 2 separate types of korbanos, right? So then what would be then? Can he use the money or not? So teku. So we say teku, and we don't have an answer, right? Okay. So hadron alach misha amar L'chaim, l'chaim. All right.
I think the next parak might be the shortest parak.
It's a couple blocks.
Sunday night, l'chaim.
Isn't a chacham arayas on Nyland?
Parrots, don't put away the bottle, Parrots.
Barry, no, what do you say? Parrots is on the roll, baby.
That's crazy.
No, I had big tinus.
He is a sign. I mean, he is a
Verizon's number.
sign first.
Yeah.
You know.
That's basically. I figured this was going to be an issue.
I had big tinus on Art Scroll. Why would they
You
wouldn't
got an
start
account
the
number?
next what's it called at the end of a parak?
You gave them the account number?
Yeah.
And then I looked.
What do you do with those types?
We can get a guy. I'm gonna schedule a call. What time do you want the early talk? I'll call you.
Liner, what do you need, Liner? What are you scheduling now?
I'm just scheduling up for something over here. What's going on?
No, he's taking care of me. He's trying to take care of me. He's trying to get me onto his plan so I can have my phone number in Eretz Yisrael. That's all. And Verizon making me sugar.
I did
Okay,
it.
you
I
just-
was on the phone.
I'm a
for-
prepaid guy. You know?
Don't use Verizon.
Jacob, I did it today. It took me 5 seconds.
Don't
I know,
use
but I don't
Verizon.
have Verizon. I don't have Verizon.
Verizon's
I
one
have
of the
business.
worst services in Eretz Yisrael. It's a pits.
So what should I do?
You either get unlimited Israel, the guy from Muncie, he'll overnight you, or you have someone pick up a SIM card from him, or
Yeah,
you
but I-
do Nati Samet.
Avi, the iPhone 14 doesn't take SIM cards.
The virtual
Right,
SIM.
13.
Right.
Virtual SIM.
No, yeah, you could do virtual SIM even on an iPhone
No,
11.
but
They all do
I
eSIM
need
now.
my phone number because that's people. That's how people get a hold of me.
Oh, then you
That's
have
the
to
problem.
then do the Verizon travel pass. It's going to be fab, but it is what it is.
What should I do?
$100 a day, or you
What?
can do for a
Oh
month.
no,
it's
one second,
$100.
Tzviakov, hold on. Tzviakov,
Yes.
what I always do, I have my own with my own Israeli and American phone number, and then I just forward my regular cell phone number to my
Yeah, but it doesn't
temporary
work for
one that I
text
use in
messages.
Eretz Yisrael.
Text don't work.
Text
Doesn't
don't
work
work.
that way, Abby.
Text don't work.
We went through every option.
And I ain't doing phone calls all day.
Okay.
Not a nice
Verizon
guy.
it is.
Just Yaakov, forward them
I
to
know,
me.
it's-
I'll put up a fake mailbox in front of my house. Dog, we'll take care of it.
No, okay, so that's it. Verizon.
Look who's trying to struggle for the power.
And take
Oh,
away the
he listens to
misinai
the
right
daf.
there.
He's changing his
There
name
go
to
misinai.
Chanina.
There's no struggle. He's giving it to you.
2 VZ from wireless.
All this
Yeah,
technology is
next
causing.
Verizon number.
By the way, the Verizon told me that if you're gonna be there for more than 10 days, it pays to do the monthly plan for
The
$100.
monthly plan for $100, right?
I just said it.
$100. Well, I try and think
Yeah.
like I'm gonna be there for 2 Shabbosim, so I try not to use the phone for those couple of hours because
No, but if you're gonna be there for more than 10 days,
He's
do
trying
I
to
get out?
only
Not
7
sure if
days.
that's the Stein side or the Mindic side.
What time is good for them to call you? What time is them good to call you?
you're gonna use your phone on Saturday. It's gonna be
11:30.
considered a day. It's gonna be considered a day.
Yeah, just do
What?
the monthly
11:30
plan. It's
You're
not
gonna
the
turn it
dial.
on and you're gonna use it as the day. So
Dude,
Why?
consider
I'll use, it
Saturday.
I'll use it only with Wi-Fi.
It also goes by 24-hour periods. It doesn't
Oh, it
start
does?
like this.
Yeah. Just get the monthly plan.
Right?
Well,
It's not
if
the
you're gonna be there
dial,
for more than
it's
10 days, it's $100.
I wrote port
Take-
status. You have to explain to them it's not a port really, it's Verizon.
What is
but
Oilam
if you're,
saying?
but Naftali, you're gonna need number transferred PIN, NTP. You have to do that.
I have that. We did it already
We
a few
did
days
it.
ago.
We
These
did it.
clowns.
We
The
did
problem
it.
is you want to hear.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
on Visible. I'm on Visible. Visible was bought. It's prepaid. It's Gavaldic. It's regular Verizon, but it's $25 a month,
Oh, nice.
right? But Verizon bought them.
Leave it to stay, man.
So now he's
Stay.
that's the
It's
problem.
gotta
He's
sound
on
bad.
Verizon and we're porting